Today, we're going to compare two of the most popular utility e-bikes on the market, the Specialized Globehall ST and the Rad Power Bike's RadRunner 3 Plus. Now, like a multi-tool, these bikes are designed to be the only bike you'll ever need for most of your biking needs. They're designed to give you a hand with all your chores when it seems like you don't have enough, well, hands. And through our testing, plus over 200 miles we've ridden on each bike, I've grown to appreciate both as each shine in different ways. So while I do have a personal favorite, I often find myself recommending the other one more frequently. So let's dive into the specs, features, and real-world testing data of these two utility e-bikes to see how I got to this conclusion. Welcome back, friends. Mike here, and before we jump into the comparison, do us a favor, go ahead and like this video and subscribe to our channel. It really does go a long way in telling YouTube's algorithm that people like this content, and that will help push this content out to more folks just like you who are trying to learn about these bikes. So now let's run through some specs of each bike and how each one compares. So kicking things off with the Specialized Globehall ST, it's currently priced at $2,800. And this is a good time to remind you prices are likely going to change soon due to an increase on EV battery tariffs. So these prices are accurate as of today, but there's a chance they do go up a bit, so just keep that in mind. Now, the Globehall comes as a Class 3 e-bike with speeds up to 28 miles an hour. And it's one of the few Specialized bikes that actually comes with a throttle. The motor's a 700-watt rear hub motor activated with a torque sensor, which pumps out a respectable 90 Newton meters of torque. This bike is designed to fit riders heights ranging from 4'5" up to 6'4", with nearly 6 inches of stem height adjustability and a huge 13 inches of seat post adjustability, so you can find the right fit. It has a 48-volt, 772 watt-hour externally mounted battery with 5 levels of pedal assist along with a push throttle. The drivetrain is a micro-shift Advent 9-speed with a 50-tooth chainring and an 11-36 cassette. For brakes, it has Tektro Gemini brakes with 4-piston calipers and 203mm rotors. The tires are a wider Carless Whisper Reflect sized at 20 by 3.5 inches with an all-terrain tread pattern. The bike also includes a duotone LCD display, weighs 77.5 pounds, and features a 20-inch standover height with a total payload capacity of a very big 419 pounds. Up front, you have a rigid fork with no suspension option, and it also has front-to-back LED lighting, fenders, and the MIK HD rack mounting system with racks in the front and rear, providing several modular mounting points for various accessories. All right, now let's take a closer look at the RadRunner 3 Plus, which is currently priced at $2,099, making it about $700 cheaper. We'll discuss the value aspect in a bit because it's not as straightforward as you might be thinking. Now, the bike is a Class 2 e-bike with pedal assist and throttle speeds up to 20 miles an hour. It comes with a 750-watt rear hub motor that's activated by a cadence sensor with 64 Newton meters of torque. The 48-volt, 672 watt-hour semi-integrated battery has 5 levels of pedal assist with a twist throttle. The bike fits riders from 4'11" all the way up to 6'2" and includes about 11 inches of seat post adjustability to dial in your fit. Now, the drivetrain features a Shimano Altus MD310 7-speed system with a 48-tooth chainring and an 11-34-tooth cassette. For braking, it uses the Tektro E350 HD hydraulic disc brakes with 2-piston calipers and 180mm rotors. Up front, you have an RST front suspension fork with 60mm of travel and a lockout option. And finally, the tires are Kenda K-Rad tires sized at 20 by 3.3 inches with a similar all-terrain pattern. The display is also a duotone LCD, and the RadRunner 3 Plus weighed in on our scales at a slightly lighter 75 pounds. Now, that covers the basics for both of these bikes, so let's dive into our testing results and see how the two stack up. So climbing hills on e-bikes can be tough, depending on motor power and then torque. So we tested each bike on our steep hellhole hill and throttle only mode, and then again on max pedal assist.
We are on the RadRunner 3 Plus, the hill test with throttle only. So we're gonna see how this does. Right now it's definitely feels powerful on the flats, going right about 9 miles per hour here. Rads have usually done fairly well on the hill test. They don't kind of overpower them, but I will note, and I'm noting this because it won't be reflected in the score, you know, as I'm down about 7-ish right now, is these motors are very dialed in to where if I run them up and down this hill a ton, it'll actually turn it off to protect the motor. So they kind of take a little more protective approach on this. But I'm pretty happy so far with the speed. Right about 7 miles per hour is where I got in that last section. The motor is kind of right in that middle frequency, I would say. It doesn't get too high pitched or too low. I'll let you listen to it on this section. So yeah, again, that's kind of the last steepy, punchy section on here, and it held solid right at 7. You could hear the motor, again, a little bit of noise to it, nothing abnormal, unusual. And I think this is going to do, it's definitely going to get to the top of the hole and overall do fairly well. So we'll see kind of what the results say here as I weave in and out. Okay, did not have to slow down, so that shouldn't affect the timing at all. So yeah, let's go to the tape and see how the RadRunner 3 Plus did. All right, now we are on to the pedal test for the RadRunner 3 Plus climbing up this hill. I will say I'm really not having to push much on this, right around 11 miles per hour. Shifting fairly well as I go uphill as well. So holding pretty steady right at 9. Again, I would say like this is one that is pretty easy to climb a hill on. I don't think it's going to set any speed records by any means, but I'm not having to pedal hard, so it's really just kind of keep the cadence of the cranks with the right gear. Let's listen to the motor here. Yeah, so it sounds about the same as the throttle. Hear it a little bit more with the higher cadences here. And as I shift up, yeah, so it's held pretty solid through this. We'll see what the results are. And feels really, I mean, really easy. You can definitely get up that hole without breaking a sweat, without having to put much into it if you don't want to. Okay, here we are on the Specialized Globe Hall ST, and this is the throttle test. So we're going to see how this does, because frankly I was surprised that Specialized even put a throttle through here. It's a pretty steep section we're coming up on. And this is coasting up really easy. I was curious to know how this would feel. Again, I was a little surprised to see a throttle from Specialized. Very happy about it. I'm going to let you listen to the motor through this next section, because it is the kind of a good steep section. You'll hear what the motor sounds like. So motor definitely has, you know, like some sound, some whine to it, but I kind of flew through that section at 15 miles per hour. So yeah, I'm going to say right now on the throttle, this thing's a hill charger for sure. And just feels fantastic. Okay, so here we are on the pedal test, the Globe Hall ST, and this motor feels very powerful. I'm at 18 miles an hour, just kind of cruising up this thing so far. And I will say the motor's interesting. If you get the cadence right down and you're in the right gear, it just gives you more the more you push, but I'm not pushing hard. So we'll let you listen to the motor real quick. Yeah, so about the same sound as with when it was throttle only, but I mean I'm going 17, 18 miles per hour, and it's This is going to be a pretty good time, is going to be my guess. Yeah, overall, very impressed with the hill climbing capabilities of this motor, even though they've capped it at 700 watts.
So first up, the RadRunner 3 Plus tackled hellhole in throttle only mode, climbing in 1 minute 48 seconds, averaging 10 miles an hour. With PAS5 activated, it improved to 1 minute 24 seconds, averaging 12.9 miles an hour. Now the Globehall ST, on the other hand, ascended the hill on throttle only at 1 minute 5 seconds, averaging 16.7 miles an hour. Next up in PAS5, the Globehall made it up in 1 minute flat, which is a very fast score, and it's a top 5 score across all 200 plus e-bikes we've tested on hellhole to date. Then we tested both bikes again on a smaller hill near our office here, and this time I loaded each bike up to 70% of its payload, including me at 180 pounds. So the Globehall ST carried 110 pounds of extra weight, and the RadRunner 3 Plus had an extra 65 pounds. Both bikes managed the hill successfully, but with some different results. The Globehall ST, with its 419-pound payload, climbed the hill in 1 minute 59 seconds, averaging 7.2 miles an hour. Now the RadRunner 3 Plus, with its 350-pound capacity, took 2 minutes 9 seconds, averaging 6.2 miles an hour. So yeah, only a 10-second difference. Now both bikes did lose a little bit of handling performance, but that's expected when loaded up with that extra weight. But it was more noticeable in the RadRunner, largely due to its lower standover height and lack of a crossbar, where the beefier Globehall's frame felt just a bit more controlled. The Globehall's motor was louder but more powerful, and the sensitivity of the torque sensor on the Globehall made pedaling uphill feel a little bit unnatural. I could hear small motor surges at the top of each pedal stroke, as if the bike was trying to measure my pedal power and just couldn't quite get it right in the stress test. But despite this thing still screams up hills with relative ease. On the other hand, the RadRunner's cadence sensor provided more immediate and consistent power, which I like for hill climbs. But in the end, this is a comparison, and so we must give an award here. So the Specialized Globehall ST edged it out due to its larger payload capacity, super fast hill climbs, and better control under a heavier load. But let's be clear, this was a close comparison and there was no flawless victory from either bike, just some personality differences. Alright, we get it. E-bike range capability is a factor that weighs heavily on most folks when they're researching their next bike purchase. And as far as muscle goes for each bike, the Globehall ST has a 700 watt motor with a torque sensor, and the RadRunner 3 Plus has a 750 watt motor with a cadence sensor. Now, generally speaking, a torque sensor can be more efficient as it varies power based on measuring pedaling power from the rider. Now, conversely, a cadence sensor delivers power in an all or nothing manner if the pedals are rotating at all, regardless of pedaling pressure. It just goes with the flow of the programming. Now, results-wise, on PAS1, the Specialized Globehall covered 54.34 miles, where it averaged 13.5 miles an hour and climbed 1,482 feet in elevation. Now next up, in the highest pedal assist setting, the Globehall covered 37.69 miles, averaging 19.5 miles an hour and climbing 1,079 feet of elevation. Now for the RadRunner 3 Plus, on PAS1 it covered 60.19 miles, averaging 12.9 miles an hour and climbed 423 feet. Then on PAS5, it was able to cover 26.43 miles, averaging 18.3 miles an hour and climbing 508 feet of elevation. So what do these results tell us about each bike? Well, in a nutshell, both bikes performed well, and anytime you can cover between 25 and 60 miles on a single charge, you're doing good. Personally, I prefer the higher floor when it comes to mileage, so I'm partial to the Globehall ST's performance with a minimum real-world result of 37 miles over the RadRunner's floor at just 26 miles. All in all, each bike held its own in our range test, and each bike offers some really solid range that most folks are going to find to be more than enough. So when it comes to speed, the Globehall ST and the RadRunner 3 Plus give you two different experiences. So let's chat about how each bike handles speed. So in our test, the Globehall ST hit an impressive top speed of 26.5 miles an hour in PAS5, making it a Class 3 e-bike. Now the RadRunner 3 Plus tops out at 20.2 miles an hour in PAS5, right in line with its Class 2 designation, capped at 20 miles an hour. Now, both bikes share the ability to deliver power in an even and linear range across all 5 levels of pedal assist. And really, both bikes perform as expected based on their speed capabilities. The RadRunner 3 Plus may not have the Class 3 speeds, but it holds its own, especially in the utility bike class, which focuses more on a comfortable riding experience with the ability to bring along your extra gear or a passenger, more so than winning a sprint. But in a true head-to-head result, the W goes to the Specialized Globehall for its Class 3 speeds and better torque rating. If you're familiar with our work, you know we have a standardized brake test, and we ran both the Globehall ST and the RadRunner 3 Plus through it to compare results. The Globehall ST is equipped with Tektro HD T535 hydraulic disc brakes that have 4 piston calipers and 203mm rotors, and it averaged a stopping distance of 15 feet 9 inches across the 3 runs. Impressively, this is a top 5 result among over 200 e-bikes we've tested across all classes. Now, the RadRunner 3 Plus has Tektro HD E350 hydraulic disc brakes, 180mm rotors with 2 piston calipers, and it averaged a stopping distance of 20 feet 8 inches. This Globehall ST's larger rotors and 4-piston setup provided stronger and more confident braking, resulting in a shorter stopping distance. The RadRunner 3 Plus, with its smaller 180mm rotors, had a longer stopping distance, but still gave us reliable braking performance. Both bikes performed admirably in the brake test. The Globehall ST's brakes felt more responsive, especially under a heavy load, while the RadRunner 3 Plus's brakes, though not as powerful, still offered good stopping power for everyday rides. It's like giving one an A and the other an A+, there's really no losers here. Alright, now in a true head-to-head comparison, let's summarize these results. So when it comes to specs and components, the Globehall gets the nod. It has a 700 watt rear hub motor with torque sensor, a micro-shift Advent 9-speed drivetrain, and the better brakes with larger rotors and those 4 piston calipers. The RadRunner 3 Plus has Shimano Altus 7-speed system with a lower tier Tektro brakes with those 2 piston calipers biting into smaller 180mm rotors. In terms of motor speed, engagement, and power, the Globehall again gets the win. Sure, both bikes have rear hub motors, but differ in how they deliver that power. The Globehall has the torque sensor with 90 Nm of torque. The RadRunner 3 Plus has 750 watts cadence sensor, yet a lower 64 Nm of torque. Now on the plus side, both motors provide really good acceleration, which is essential for carrying heavy loads. They're both quiet, though I thought the Globehall's motor was a little bit louder when it was working harder. When it comes to climbing hills, the Globehall also outperformed the RadRunner 3 Plus, and it has outperformed nearly all of the bikes we've tested to date, so yeah, you could say it was already the undisputed champ of hill climbs. Now in our range testing, the Globehall takes the edge again. We saw a minimum range or range floor of 37 miles and went as far as 54 miles, while the RadRunner 3 Plus provides a range floor of 26 miles on max pedal assist and as far as 60 miles on minimum pedal assist. Now, don't get me wrong, both bikes perform well, but the Globehall has that higher minimum range, making it more efficient and capable of longer rides. When it comes to ride quality and overall comfort, the nod goes to the RadRunner 3 Plus this time, and frankly, this was an easy one. The front suspension fork, the more comfortable upright riding position, and the better leg extension, it's just got a bit more legroom for those of you out there on the taller side. And finally, in overall value for your money, this one was another no-brainer. The RadRunner 3 Plus saves you a generous $700 and still offers great capability, falling only slightly behind the Globehall in each test, showing us just how far these direct-to-consumer brands have come, where they start to give the bigger legacy brands a real run for their money. It's really still a great performing and more affordable option. But like all things in life, and even in this case, going for the less expensive version will limit some nice perks like the better components, brakes, and tires that the Globehall has to offer. Both the Specialized Globehall and the RadRunner 3 Plus are solid utility bikes that impressed us during our testing. They handle daily tasks like hauling groceries and getting kids to school with ease, and both offer sturdy build qualities and practical features. However, we have to pick a winner. I mean, after all, this video is still a comparison. Well, after testing, the Specialized Globe Haul came out just slightly ahead in most areas we tested. It excelled in speed, braking, and hill climbing, and felt more durable when loaded at that 70% of its payload capacity. The build quality, better components, and overall better testing results gave the edge to the Globe Haul at the end of the day. But like I said in the intro, I often recommend the RadRunner 3 Plus more frequently. Why? Well, it holds its own in nearly every test and offers great performance at a lower price point. Saving $700 is a big deal, and many will appreciate the value it provides with its strong performance. Choosing between these two bikes is kind of like choosing between an iPhone or an Android. The iPhone is more refined and popular, but the Android competes well in every category and comes in cheaper. Both bikes will serve you well, and whichever you pick, you really can't go wrong. So don't overthink it. Grab your new bike and get outside and hit the road.